Police have 3 adults of interest in a homicide inquiry into the death of a toddler named Ruthless Empire.
What's Winston up to this time? His tweet has sent politicians hiding behind the closed doors of coalition talks.
And high winds make it dodgy on the roads and white knuckle in the air with a promise of snow as the icing on top. Tēnā tātou katoa, good evening. Police are treating the death of a toddler in Lower Hutt as a homicide, saying he was killed by blunt force trauma.
The detective in charge says Ruthless Empire Ahapene Wall may have died up to 12 hours before he was taken to hospital.
No arrests have been made, but police are speaking with 3 people of interest, one of them a blood relative. Leighton Hakel reports.
This is Ruthless Empire Ahapene Wall, affectionately known as Baby Roo. A bubbly little boy who his family say had the brightest smile and who police say was killed just days before his 2nd birthday.
He was an innocent child who should have been safe and loved and should not have died as he did.
Police have launched a homicide inquiry saying post-mortem results show he died from blunt force trauma and had several other injuries.
This level of violence toward a child is difficult to fathom.
Police have been combing this tighter address for any evidence of what might have happened to Baby Roo on Sunday before he was taken to Hutt Hospital at around 10:30 that morning.
He was unresponsive. Efforts to revive him were unsuccessful and he died a short time later. From the investigation, we believe that his death occurred up to 12 hours prior to that.
Police clarifying reports that Baby Roo ingested wet wipes, saying that played no part in his death.
It was the injuries he sustained that did.
Ruthless Empire had only been staying at the address for a matter of weeks, living with relatives. No arrests have been made, but police are speaking with 3 persons of interest known to police. One is a blood relative.
We are getting varying degrees of engagement, but we are continuing to work with them.
Baby Roo's mother took to Facebook overnight saying her son was murdered, writing, "I am broken of all brokens. I've cried more than any soul could cry." Police are working with Oranga Tamariki to understand the history of Baby Roo and his family, how he came to be living at that house in Taita, and they have a message for anyone who may know something.
We urge those who have information about what happened to Baby Roo to look deep and do the right thing and tell us what you know.
So that this innocent little boy gets the justice he deserves. Leighton Hakel, Newshub.
There's been another mass shooting in America, this time in Maine, with at least 22 people dead and the shooter still at large. Police are hunting 40-year-old Robert Card in connection with attacks at 3 locations in the state's 2nd largest city, Lewiston. Between 50 and 60 wounded are being treated at hospitals after attacks at a bowling alley, a bar and a recreation centre. 2 communities are in lockdown and the shooter's motive still isn't known.
Winston Peters is doubling down on a claim former Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern concealed details about the Christchurch terror attack.
On social media, he said the country only discovered yesterday that her office had received information about the attacks before it happened, when in reality Ardern released that detail 2 days after the attack.
The Islamic community slammed it as political posturing, but Peters' potential coalition partners are refusing to comment. Political reporter Amelia Wade has more.
It was one of our darkest days, marked by political unity.
We want to ensure that there's no doubt that this is a unified political response beyond politics.
Then Deputy Prime Minister Winston Peters stood by Jacinda Ardern in that response. Until now, the ongoing coronial inquest into the attacks yesterday heard evidence about the gunman's manifesto being sent to the PM's office. Peters followed that up with a tweet claiming, "We waited until today to find out for the first time that Ardern received information about the terrorist attack before the massacre took place. But Peters got this totally wrong, because just 2 days after the attack, Ardern told New Zealand,
I was one of more than 30 recipients of a manifesto that was mailed out 9 minutes before the attack took place.
It was also in the Royal Commission of Inquiry into the attacks.
This is there black and white. It's obviously he hasn't even read the Royal Commission. And that, for a senior statement.
The PM's office has urged Peters to remove his tweet and post a correction, but Peters instead chose to double down, posting late last night. For those political apologists and feckless media, not once were we transparently informed of this information. To excuse it because it was known at a public press conference is as bizarre as it is biased. Peters then tweeted this afternoon that his initial comment was about the location of the attacks.
What is more important, to learn the lessons of March 15th or political posturing for a short-term media burst? I think that kind of political tweeting, you can leave it in Trump's America.
But in Christopher Luxon's New Zealand, where he's trying to form a government that may very well involve New Zealand first, there was a deafening silence. David Seymour refused to say a peep, and Peters wouldn't be interviewed. And the last Kiwis have heard from the man about to lead them was a tweet about the All Blacks last night, after saying yesterday morning all was well with coalition talks.
I think it's important we get a foundation of good chemistry, of good trust, of good relationships in place.
And he's requiring a lot of trust from New Zealanders in this vacuum of silence. Amelia Wade, Newshub.
And at the coronial inquest into the March 15 attack today, the words, "Please call him the terrorist," were shouted from the public gallery.
One of the victims from Al Noor Mosque told the court referring to him as Mr Tarrant was offensive, but the coroner refused his request. Juliet Speedy has more.
So we will return.
A lengthy coronial inquest and emotions are high.
This court is now adjourned. All stand, please. Sorry, we've got a gentleman waving at me from the back.
A victim shot at Al Noor Mosque in the public gallery.
All the victims want that his name shouldn't be taken as a Mr. Tarrant. He's not a Mr. Can you call him a terrorist, please?
I appreciate your comment, but this is a court, and he is entitled to be called Mr. Tarrant in this court.
It's offending us when he be called Mr.
All right.
Just say his name, not Mr., please.
I understand your concern, but this is my court, and he will be addressed as I've indicated.
In the morning session before this, there were other audible reactions in the public gallery as police were put under immense pressure about inaction when the 111 calls started coming in on that fateful day. This is audio from the first 111 call from the public.
Where is your emergency?
We're beside the mosque temple.
In Christchurch, I take it?
Machine gun fire, yeah.
Have you heard it? Or
yeah, you can hear it in the background. It's urgent.
That call in at the same time, a parliamentary staffer was on the phone to a 111 operator, but the person taking that call had no idea multiple other calls about the attack were coming into the same communications room.
Wouldn't it have helped if communicators such as her could get an alert on her screen, P1 event, multiple gunshots at mosque in Christchurch?
Potentially, yes.
Council also asked whether a different line to 111 should exist. So if Parliament got a threat today, like they did on March 15, they wouldn't call a 111 comms operator, but could call a sworn officer directly, so it could be acted upon immediately.
That could be one aspect that would have potentially made a difference.
Council assisting the coroner also asked the head of police communications why the 111 operator labelled the call from Parliament as priority 2 or non-urgent.
What about when he mentioned a mosque?
That would be a call for her, but that was
it's a call for you. You're here as an expert commenting on what she did. That is a specific threat to attack a specific place, and you're still telling us P2 is appropriate?
Despite having that information, police didn't descend on Linwood Mosque, but the terrorists did. And 12 minutes after that call came in, the lives of 7 more worshippers were savagely taken. Juliet Speedy, Newshub.
Well, the countdown is on and the Kiwi cavalry is on their way to Paris, where an influx of fans is expected over the coming days ahead of the Rugby World Cup final.
Andrew Gordy is with us now from Paris. And Andrew, the All Blacks are gearing up for an army of support over there.
Hi guys, yes they most certainly are. The team had a day off here today, which meant a day off too for the thousands of loyal fans who are already here and have been following the team right throughout the tournament. Some of them have spent the time celebrating the heroics of All Blacks past with the opening of a very special museum and a very special place. Our Europe correspondent Lisette Raymer went to visit.
Home away from home takes on new meaning in La Quinoa. 2 hours north of Paris, and New Zealand is celebrated on every corner, the All Blacks on every second.
You are at home. Everybody, every New Zealander are at home here.
Now there's a new Kiwi landmark on the town map. The Liberation Museum Te Arawhata celebrates over 100 years of freedom and friendship. Days off the World Cup supporters trail have never been so well spent.
Very humbling, yeah, heartfelt.
In the last week of World War I, New Zealand soldiers liberated the town from 4 years of German occupation. There wasn't a single civilian death, but at least 100 of our own men died.
I was in the military for 17 years and I've always wanted to come here, so it was really nice to be able to link it in with the rugby.
The link goes beyond the calendar. 93 All Blacks served in the Great War. At least one died in the battle here. French and Kiwi soldiers played rugby against each other to keep fit, boost spirits and raise funds.
Even making money for the war hospitals and things like that, you know, that never knew anything like that, sort of, but now we're reading it, now we're learning.
Christchurch's Albie Hyatt could write the book on modern-day All Black heroics. He wears their World Cup history on his arms and is already planning the next edition.
My daughter's brought me a tattoo voucher, so
it's happening.
I'm going to use it.
But this visit has already been a big win for Kiwi fans. 20 years in planning, the museum's opening perfectly aligned with the World Cup. The $15 million project has been funded by donations from New Zealanders, only deepening the ties between our two countries.
When you meet a New Zealander in the town, you say, "Are you New Zealander?" "Yes, we are." "Oh, come on, I'll show you the memorial and I'll show you this."
And while admittedly rugby did cause a temporary rivalry this past month, this weekend, Le Quinoa's back backing New Zealand 100%.